Enderman Slayer is really hard, and here's a way to make it easier. In this video, I'll only talk about gears and utilities for tier 3 and tier 4 because tier 1 is so piss easy, you can physically piss on them. So this video will be split in two parts: gears, aka talisman, armor, weapons, and utilities, things that will aid you in combat damage wise and healing wise. So with that being said, let's get into the videos. So let's talk about the most basic part of combat, accessory bag. So if I go over here, check out my talisman bag, as you can see, strong are gonna be on mythic and its legendary, enrichment on magic find. The enrichment could either be magic find or attack speed, whatever you fancy, and shaded on everything else. But the key difference here is that most of the epic are gonna be on strange for the bonus attack speed, which is really helpful against Enderman Slayer. As you can see, I gain 4% per epic talisman reforged to strange, and you can even get more with the enrichment. Right now there are 25 mythic or legendary talisman in the game, which that totals to 0.5 attack speed, and you can even actually get more attack speed by reforging strange on uncommon talisman, but usually it's not that worth it to do so. So with that talisman guy out of the way, let's talk about the bare minimum for tier 3. The setup I currently have right now with the giant sword, 3-4 necron, and that tarantula helmet is the bare minimum. The reason why I wouldn't recommend getting Final Destination pieces is that these things requires Enderman Slayer 4 requirement. And for the Warper Katana, which is a better sword in terms of damage by 10 to 20% and about 100% in terms of DPS, thanks to the Soul Cry ability that buff your ferocity by a significant amount. So having this setup is actually the bare minimum. Obviously you can swap out the tarantula with the Warden helmet, but as you can see, Warden helmet costs a bit of money, so tarantula helmet would work just fine. And as for the pet, it's going to be a baby yeti. A baby yeti is really useful because it gives defense based on the amount of strength you have, which is going to be really useful because as you can see, necron gives a lot of strength. Once you hit Enderman Slayer 4, just make sure to switch to a full Final Destination set. Although the full Final Destination set is obviously not the best, a Warden helmet would still be better than a full Final Destination set. Keeping it full Final Destination keeps the cost down, because the cost for the entire set without any recom, enchant or whatsoever is going to cost you about 10 to 15 million coins, which is way cheaper than necron pieces. Even the legging costs more than the entire set. But the difference between 3-4 Warden and full Final Destination is not that significant, thanks to the full set bonus of the Final Destination that buffs your damage by a significant amount, but at the same time it costs a lot of soul flow. So long term wise, getting a Warden helmet would be cheaper. And once you have this setup, keep doing Enderman Slayer until you hit Enderman Slayer 5. And when you hit Enderman Slayer 5, switch right to Warper Katana, because like I've said, Warper Katana is better in every way compared to a giant sword. And as for the pets, thanks to the piece bonus of the Final Destination set, you're gonna have a lot of defense. At around 5k Q, it should be comfortable to switch your pet to an Ender Dragon for a significant damage boost. And after getting Enderman Slayer 6, you should get an Atom Split, because this is the best sword for Enderman Slayer out there right now, with Ender Slayer 6 requirement and a really huge price tag set on it. So by having this setup, you should be able to do tier 4s efficiently now, even without the Warden helmet. But obviously Warden helmet is going to be good for damage. For the armor pieces upgrade, there's not only Warden that are viable for armor piece upgrade in terms of damage. There are also Tuck Chestplate and Ender Legging. Although Sour Armor is not a damage boost armor piece, it boosts your magic find, which could be really useful in case you want that extra magic find at the cost of defense. So one of the best armor setup for Enderman Slayer right now is going to be a Warden, Elegant Tux, and Ender Legging. You should be able to switch when the Final Destination boot hits about 25k Q, because by using this setup, you're gonna lose a lot of defense. So make sure that Final Destination boot got you covered in terms of defense. But obviously, if you want to go on an extra length in terms of damage, obviously you can switch some of these pieces to be Ender or Tuxes. But make sure to experiment and see which setup you can survive and deals the most amount of damage. So with that guide for armor setup out of the way, let's talk about the utilities now. So for the first utility, it's going to be a Necron Braid series. To be more specific, the Wither Impact ability. Because when you use a Wither Impact, that's a nice lag spike, but as you can see, I have a lot of absorption from that right click alone, thanks to its ability. This is really useful in terms of Enderman Slayer, but to mostly optimize this, there's two options to optimize it. First, having a Heroic Hyperion. Having a Heroic Hyperion is actually really useful, because when you have a Hyperion, it actually gives a lot of mana. That in turn make your mana regen goes a lot faster. But most of the time, you're not going to be holding your Hyperion out. Instead, you're going to be holding your Atom Spit or Warpo Katana, which these two swords actually has a lot of intelligence boost already. And that's where the best option came in, and that is Suspicious Sealer. As you can see, with the Sealer, it gives a significant crit damage boost. And that's even without the 1 crit damage per Catacomb level boost. And with Suspicious Reforge on top of that, it's a lot of crit damage and going to be a lot of absorptions hard. The second utility is a Reaper Psyche, or a Summoning Ring, or a Necromancer Sword. The reason why Reaper Psyche is the best sword for this job is because you can put Ultimate Wise 5 on it and also can spawn 3 souls all at once. Or you can actually spawn up to 8 souls at the same time with a Reaper Mask and a full Necromancer lot setup. So when you have this setup and enough soul in your Reaper Psyche or any summoning weapon, you can spawn up to 8 mobs. Like that. And also, the most optimized way of catching soul is to have a summoning ring in your inventory and use your hype to go around M3 dungeons and kills all the mob and pick up the soul with the Reaper Psyche and not the summoning ring. Because the summoning ring actually spawns the soul by just having it in your inventory, in contrast to the Necromancer Sword or Reaper Psyche where you have to kill the mob with your weapon for it to drop their soul. For the most part, it's not really worth it because the more mobs you spawn, the more chances of it blocking your damage phase, which you have to balance out whether you want a faster hit phase or faster damage phase. And from my experiences, I feel like the default amount from the Reaper Psyche is good enough for the most part. The third utility is the Wand of Atonement. Wand of Atonement is really useful because when you right click it actually deals 170 health per second for 7 seconds, and you can even put Ultimate Wise 5 on it to make it a lot better. Although Wand of Atonement actually requires Revenant Slayer level 7 and some people does not have it. This is why Wand of Restoration of the weaker brother is also viable. But if you even have less than that, just remember that that's Wand of Mending for Slayer 3, Wand of Healing for Slayer 1. And the fourth utility is the Forest Zombie Sword. The Forest Zombie Sword is not that useful, but when it's actually usable, it's really useful because it works at a padding heal. Sometimes you aggro a bit too much, and that's where the Forest Zombie Sword comes in, because it's an instant heal compared to the Wand of Atonement heal per second. The fifth utility is the Pigment Sword. The Pigment Sword is not really useful when you have a decent defense setup, like 3-4 Fun Destination with Warden and a Baby Yeti or a Dragon Pet. The Pigment Sword gives a lot of defense. To be more specific, 300 defense for 5 seconds. When you have a setup like mine, where you literally have 1.5 defense, a Pigment Sword could potentially be useful. And the sixth utility is obviously a Plasma Flux. A Plasma Flux is obviously the best and really expensive, as you can see, with the price being around 175 million coins. And even its weaker brother, the Overflux, is 80 million coins. A Mana Flux should work just fine, but if you have the money, make sure to spend on Overflux or Plasma Flux. It's a really good investment choice. And as for these two talisman is really useful thanks to all these utilities that you're going to be rotating. These two talisman provides a lot of overflow mana. This is the second best soul flow talisman. The best one right now costs about 100 million coins. So I wouldn't really recommend getting it. So get the second one with the price of 6 million coins right now. And also the Expressor is obviously really good for intelligence as well. And as for utilities that you're probably not going to be using, the first one is Lesser Orb of Healing. Lesser Orb of Healing actually heals you for the same as Overflux, obviously without the mana and extra strength and stuff like that. Lesser Orb of Healing is really good. It's just the fact that you need an Orbit account with Catacomb 16 to use it properly. So good luck getting that Catacomb 16 with an F3P finder. But if you do have Lesser Orb of Healing on you, you can actually swap the boot to be, let's say, Sorrow or Ender Legging for the extra damage or extra magic find. As for the Slime Hat by itself is obviously pretty useless, but the beauty of it is that you can actually use a Slime Hat glitch. A Slime Hat glitch is when you go to the end island where a Slime Hat, go back to your own island, switch the Slime Hat to your Warden helmet, and get warped back to the same lobby. That's how you can take no KB. The reason to do this is because, let's say you have a tier boosted dragon, like me. You're not gonna be able to use a Shelmet, and that's why a Slime Hat could be viable. And that's about it for the utilities. After this point, I'm gonna be showing a gameplay with my voiceover and not in live footage, so you can know exactly what I'm doing and you can replicate the thing that I'm doing. So the first thing is obviously I have my mobs spawn out already, so that when the boss actually spawn, I would have enough mana to survive.
Oh my god.
And when the boss is spawning, I place down all my essentials. I use my atonements and quickly place down my Plasma Flux. And for the hit phase, I would stay on the opposite side of my mob so I can deal the most amount of damage during the damage phase. As you can see, I predicted the timing wrong, so I used my hype and my atom speed ability a little bit earlier. But you will get used to it because the broken heart radiation sound actually has a different pitches. So if you're used to it, you can predict the timing pretty easily. And of course, use the Sealer Atonement and use the atom speed ability. You can see I placed out my second Plasma Flux. The reason for this is because I want to play a little bit safe, but for the top Enderman players, they don't really need to place out a second Mana Flux because they could kill them pretty easily, because they aggro really hard. After the hit phase started, most people usually don't tend to run away from the boss, they would just head straight in, but since I want to play it a little bit safe, I decided to back out for a bit and let my mobs do the work. When the boss dropped to under 100 million health, they would start spawning heads to deal damage to you. The more of them, the more damage they would deal. This is a time when the laser phase kicked in. This is a time that you should look at the heads now because you have a lot of downtime. But make sure to have a little bit of Voidgloom on your screen. He can still throw down beacon during the laser phase, so look out for the beacon as well. The reason I casted a rod there was so that it would trigger my auto pet ability, which will swap to Black Cat for the extra magic find. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask me in the comment section, join my Discord server for a discussion, or hop on my Twitch where I stream regularly there. And that's about it. This is actually my first unscripted video since the C-Lot sound video, so it's gonna be really scuff, so I'm gonna try to improve my speaking pattern and pronunciations and the continuity of my sentences. And that's about it. Thank you for watching, and until next blue moon, farewell.